Welcome to Math with Kim. We are going to be working on metrics and conversions. So as you can see, metric systems of measurement, metric conversions. So this is a very interesting pattern that I found this written in a book and I really liked it, and it's very helpful for when you need to do conversions from metric units to metric units. So what I want to show you is this simple pattern. First, let me lay it out because, again, this is a memorization aid. If you draw this little, I kind of call them like, they almost look like little measurement sticks, right? And notice they all have the same pattern. Let me also identify the fact that we are talking about meters, grams, and liters. So if you notice over here, hopefully you can see it. When we're talking about meters, we're talking about a length or distance. When we're talking about grams, pick up anything like this is Punchki. She, of course, will be a guest from time to time now that we are working on it like this. So grams, if you pick up any kind of snack or food item, anything, look at a nutrition label and you will see grams and milligrams, okay? Now, when we talk about liters, this is a liquid capacity. So liters, we're talking about milliliters. And note, I put a little note right here that milliliters can be considered cc's as well. I know there's a lot of interchangeable problems that will slip in cc's, especially with any medical nursing students. So I just wanted to make that comparison. And then, of course, we have our kiloliters. So notice everything has this perfect little pattern. Now, kilometers compared to meters, kilometers would be what we would compare as our miles, right? So this is large distance. A meter stick is kind of like a yardstick, okay? It is approximately 3 feet is a meter. And then millimeters, tiny. So do you see how we go from big to small? And notice that's the pattern for meters, grams, and liters. So the smallest measurement of all of these is milli. So we've got millimeters, milligrams, milliliters, and then our largest measurement, kilometers, kilograms, kiloliters. All right. And of course, now when we think of liters, hopefully even in, American measurement, we think of like water bottles, right? Is a liter. And I'm sure some of us buy 2-liter pops on sale, so we all can picture what a liter looks like, okay? Now, look at the pattern in between. And these, I'm not going to go into incredible detail in this video because I just want to show you how this little pattern of metric conversions works. So I just went into a little bit more detail with my meters, but of course, you can easily find online or in your book, or I can also post a sheet with more detailed information on the metric units that go in between our 3 basic. But for this structure and for this concept, I wanted to make sure you could see it on this basic scale, okay? So if you get this started on a test, you're given a test, you write down your little cheat sheet really quick, and you just draw your line with your bar in the middle and then your 2 on the sides, and then of course you got your 2 little tick marks in between each. So notice all of them are patterned that way. You have your right side, which is your milli, your tiny measurement. You have your middle, which is your basic measurement, your unit of measure. And then you have on the right tick mark, you have your kilo, your large measure. And in between, you notice these 2 tick marks. 2 tick marks. Okay, so this is like, again, this is your centimeters. This is when you get your decameters, your decimeters. And again, not going into too many details, but I want you to understand what all of these mean and the pattern is following. All right, so let's do some of these problems. Enough talk of next explanation. Let's do the problem. So if you're given something similar to this, let's say you have 3,750 centimeters, and you need to convert that into meters. Well, find your centimeters, and I included centimeters especially because this is a unit of measure that we see a lot, okay, in math, science, our STEM. You're going to see centimeters. All right, so if we start with centimeters and we're trying to change it into meters, look at the relation on this little example I set up, okay, our little measuring stick. So if I take my 3,750 and that is centimeters, so I find centimeters, so 3,750 centimeters, and also I want to identify where my decimal is. So anytime we have a whole number, we know our decimal is at the very end, even if we don't see it, okay? So now, again, using this, how many movements and in what direction do we do to get from centimeters to meters? Why am I going from centimeters to meters? Because that is the problem. That is the conversion they asked us to do. They asked us to change centimeters into meters. So we're starting at centimeters. We're starting with 3,750. And all I've done is put it over the centimeter mark and put my decimal in. Now, we look at where meters is located in comparison, and that is 2 jumps to the left. Does everybody see that, right? If my centimeters is here, I would have to move 1, 2 to get to my meters. So that is exactly what I'm going to do with this decimal. This decimal, when it's centimeters, is right here at the end. But if I want to change it to meters, I have to move that decimal 1, 2 places to the left. So what is 3,750 centimeters as meters? It would be 37.5, or of course 0.50. You can include the 0. So what did we do? We took a decimal and we moved it 2 places to the left, or in other words, we divided by 100. And that's how you'll see it written in many different books. It'll show it to you as fractional amounts. It gets very complex, but I want you to understand this is a pattern that will work for all of these, no matter which direction, no matter how many jumps you're making, okay? So why don't I just knock out the rest of these so that you can rest assured that this works, okay? So this one, we have B, 2.56 or 2 and 56 hundredths kilometer equals how many millimeters? All right, so kilometer, big, right? So kilometer, we're starting all the way on the left side. So I'm going to take my 2.56 kilometers. I'm going to take my 2.56 and I put it above my kilometers because that's how many kilometers they gave us. And what do they want us to change it into? Millimeters. So how many movements is it going to take me to get from kilometers all the way to millimeters? Well, let's count. So we started kilometers. Now remember, this is why we set this up with all these little tick marks. Each one of these is a movement of our decimal, left or right, okay? So we're going to start here at kilometers. And if I was starting with my decimal, there's my decimal in this problem. But let's count first before we do any decimal moving, okay? So kilometers to millimeters, or kilometers to millimeters. How many jumps? Well, we know we're moving to the right. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that means that I have to take the decimal that is representing my kilometers, and I'm going to have to move that decimal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places to the right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that right up here. I put it above my kilometers. I know my decimal is between my 2 and my 5 because that's what I was given. And I'm going to now move that decimal 6 places to the right to change it into millimeters. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stop and put that decimal in place, okay? Now, what am I going to do with all of these little empty spots? Well, I kind of consider them like little cup holders, little egg holders, right? Fill them in with eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, right? Because there was 4 little places to be filled in. So what did I just do? Well, I changed 2.56 kilometers into millimeters by moving my decimal 6 places to the right. And by doing so, first I'm going to just write down all my digits, because this decimal is no longer here between the 2 and the 5. It's now at the very end, right? So this is going to be rewritten as 2, 5, 6. Oh, look at me. I'm already jumping to zeros. I'm sorry. 6, 2, 5, 6. And then how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So, I apologize for my messiness there. Let me rewrite it right underneath it. 2, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And that's millimeters. Now let's put in our commas every 3 digits, because that's a period, right? So let's count in 1, 2, 3, put in a comma. 1, 2, 3, put in a comma. So if we were to read this number, 2 and 56 hundredths of a kilometer equals 2,560,000 millimeters. All right? And all we did was move our decimal place left or right, depending on where we started and where we ended up. Okay? So notice I can do that with grams, I can do that with liters, and it is identical. All right? So now you know how to do this. I will be coming back with more videos, but for now, metric systems of measurement, or in other words, metric conversions, done for now.